All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's episode of the Star Trek Rewatch, and we will be covering episode number 22, which is The Return of the Archons. I will read here the entry from the Star Trek Encyclopedia, and then we'll get into the actual Alan Asherman's guide. So here we go. Here's the entry from the first edition of the Star Trek Encyclopedia. Return of the Archons, original series episode number 22. Teleplay by Boris Soberman. Story by Gene Roddenberry. Directed by Joseph Pevney. Stardate 3156.2. First aired in 1967, the Enterprise, investigating the disappearance of the starship Archon, finds a planet ruled by a computer called Landru. That's it. There's a bunch of entries here. Maybe we'll look up the Red Hour in a second, but we'll get into the Star Trek Compendium, and we'll read the entry. So again, writer on this was Boris Soberman, story by Gene Roddenberry, directed by Joseph Pevney, composer Alexander Courage, and the photographic effects were done by the Film Effects of Hollywood. This is the which one are we in broadcast order though? This was the 22nd episode produced. Are we on the 21st episode aired? I don't know. I can't remember. Anyways, we'll just get into it. The USS Enterprise visits Planet Beta 3 and Star System 6-11 to learn the fate of the USS Archon, a Federation ship that visited the planet a century before. After beaming down to explore the planet, Mr. Sulu's hit by a ray blast. Would you call it a ray blast? One of the lawgivers points a stick at him, and it makes this really weird sound, and it's the invisible ray, I guess. I don't know. A ray blast. When beamed back aboard the Enterprise, he's found to be under the influence of a strong controlling force. Kirk, McCoy, Spock, and the others beam down to see the planet's orderly populace suddenly begin an orgy that lasts for an orgy? Alan Asherman, is that... What is this? It's not an orgy. An orgy that lasts for exactly 1 hour. Actually, it's called the Red Hour, right? They meet Rieger, whose daughter Tula was a participant in the Red Hour orgy. Again, it's not an orgy. What does the entry say here in the Star Trek Encyclopedia about the Red Hour? Let's see. Red Hour. Okay, here it is. During the rule of the computer Landru on planet Beta 3, the Red Hour was a period of extreme violence and destruction by the planet's inhabitants. This may have been intended as a means of providing an emotional outlet to the tightly controlled society. Return of the Archons, the original series. So there's your entry there. Yeah, it's not an orgy. It's more like that movie, what's the name of that, Ethan Hawke? The Purge? More like The Purge, right? So, let's see, we'll continue. The lawgivers roam on the planet serving the ruling mystical figure Landru. So the lawgivers walk around in these black robes. They kind of, you are not of the body. You shall be absorbed. Right? That's what they do. They walk around like that. So, and they got these sticks that they point at people. Outsiders are absorbed and transformed into part of the body. Rieger and Marpon, two members of the anti-Landru underground. Let's see. So Rieger's played by Harry Towns, a great character actor, and Marplon is played by Torin Thatcher. Okay, so there you go. These two guys from the underground prevent Kirk and Spock from being absorbed. After coping with McCoy, who has been transformed, Kirk learns that Landru's a computer programmed by a scientist thousands of years ago. Kirk destroys the computer, freeing the people of Beta 3 to rule themselves. There's a note here. This is the first Trek episode to spotlight Kirk's talents as a computer destroyer. So, yeah, he does that whole thing. You have failed to fulfill your prime directive. Therefore, you must be destroyed. He talks the computer into destroying itself. So Kirk talks the computer to death. This is going to be a trope of the series. This will return. But I do find there was one interesting thing. Spock punches a guy in the face in this one instead of nerve pinching him, which is like, whoa, that was crazy. But then Kirk says to him, "Little old-fashioned, don't you think?" And I thought that was I chuckled at it. I thought it was funny. And then the end of the episode. So recently, I've been reading a lot of Friedrich Nietzsche and a lot of Dostoevsky, and here you have this utopian society in Star Trek that it has a lack of freedom, and Kirk makes this whole big speech about that the people are being denied freedom. They don't have the ability to, be creative, to indulge in the passions and whatnot. And he Nietzsche would like this episode. Dostoevsky would like this episode because Kirk, like the true Nietzschean Ubermensch, just comes into this utopian society and completely destroys it. Right? He blows up the computer that is ruling over these people and leading to stagnation. And Spock, highly logical, is all talking about like, hey, this society works, and Kirk's not down with it. And also there's the second time that we have here mentioned, because if we go back to the episode What Are Little Girls Made Of with Dr. Roger Corby, which was transhumanism, the whole idea of uploading your consciousness to a machine, Kirk in that episode said Dr. Corby was never here, right? Implying that Corby's soul had been destroyed in the process. Spock here, when they talk about Landru uploading his consciousness to a computer, it's the same thing. Kirk says he couldn't give them his passion. He couldn't give them his emotions, his feelings, all that stuff. And it's just a cold machine. There's nothing left in this machine of Landru other than logic, cold logic. And again, Kirk basically implying that the essence of human, even Spock says it's like very metaphysical, like getting into metaphysics. Like Spock is like, the cold logic works, and Kirk is like, no, it's bad. Like, we have to get rid of this. So I thought that was an interesting aspect of the episode. Not my favorite episode, but has some interesting ideas in it. So until next time, I guess it's going to wrap it up. I don't have a whole lot to say. But, yeah. I don't have an interesting sign-off. I can go full cringe and go, continue to watch Star Trek. Landru wills it.